Good evening, folks. This is our second short take. And tonight we're going to talk about Doc Brandon. We're going to talk about Joe Biden. You know, I don't know what in the blazes you want from this guy, but he has managed to be elected, move into a slot, and pick up the mess left by the orange jackaloon. He had to spend at least his first 3 months writing his, reversing his freaking measures.
Scorched earth.
Yeah,
nonsense.
the scorched earth Donald Trump bullshit. He has, got into the midterms, and we did have, we staved off the red tide, but, he told you what he needed to be able to deliver on all of his policies, which, by the way, he worked with the Progressive Caucus on, and Pramila Jayapal is the first one to tell you that she believed he should run for re-election so they could finish what they planned together. But you know what? You managed to lose a 9-seat lead in the House because only 52% of registered Democrats wanted to get up off the sofa and go out and vote in the midterms, even though you saw fascism right in front of your face and you watched an insurrection on live fucking television. It's as simple as that. I don't know what you expect this guy to do. You expect him to work miracles? That doesn't happen in the real world. That happens in the world of social media miscreants. So that's what we're going to talk to you about tonight.
So Joe Biden just helped negotiate and drive the debt ceiling deal. We didn't get it, didn't get everything. Gonna have to start paying student loans late August, early September. And that's gonna really hurt. There were a couple other things that Democrats are upset about. But he did that despite having, the America's Freedom Caucus and a bunch of lunatics trying to basically take down the country.
The country? Try the global economy.
And the global economy.
Let me just explain something to you. The debt ceiling was raised 8 times cleanly without being tied to the budget under George W. Bush. The debt ceiling was raised 3 times cleanly without being tied to the budget under Donald Trump, even though Donald Trump chose to give a deficit-busting $3 trillion tax cut to the billionaires. The debt ceiling was raised. This particular group of MAGA Republicans, which took the House away from the Democrats, I'll say it again, we should never have lost the House. We gave up the House, okay? They chose to attach it to Biden's budget. Make no mistake about this. This debt ceiling raise is paying off Donald Trump's billionaire tax cut, period. It has nothing to do with Biden's upcoming budget. That money has not been spent yet.
Donald Trump raised the deficit during his 4-year term by over $7 trillion. That is, comparatively speaking, the 3rd highest deficit raise in U.S. history by a sitting president.
And by the way, he blew the deficit out of the water even before the pandemic hit.
Right.
So understand that. And by the way, some of this is pandemic related. You're just going to have to live with that because guess what? Pandemics happen and they're going to happen again because no one's paying attention. And I'm not saying the government. I'm saying no one's paying attention. Everybody's done with all that nonsense now. Nobody cares anymore.
Now, this one's going to be the long, short show, I could tell.
I'm already pissed off.
So,
yep.
There's a couple of things. Number one, don't complain to me that Biden should have done the 14th. He shouldn't have done the 14th. That would have put us into so much peril, and the Social Security would not have been paid during that time. You have to understand that. You have people depending on that money.
Like me, I pay my rent with that money. My retirement money is my money, okay?
So that's number one. Number two, you're going to complain, oh, now I have to pay my student loans again. and now the student debt relief is halted or whatever. Guess what? Biden was the one that was able to get the moratorium in the first place. So stop it, please.
By the way, the American people, without really understanding what it means, were calling for the COVID stuff to end. They didn't want the COVID stuff anymore. And I'm not just talking about the right wing, okay? I know some other people who wanted to just not deal with COVID anymore. Summer's here. It's time to get back to normalcy. So what they don't understand is all of these great programs you had in place, that ended. Those are the things that ended when you ended COVID. And, when you gave up the House, it opened the door for the Republicans to go after all of this. And that's exactly what they did. They forced a vote in the Senate to end the debt relief. That's what happened. Now, Joe Biden will try to veto that.
And by the way, all of that COVID relief, let's say COVID hits within 2 years.
You're going to have to start all over again. And by the way, the CDC is warning that there will be another outbreak within the next year or so, and it could be as bad as Omicron, because this isn't gone. Once it's here, okay? It's just the way it is. So let me just say one other thing. Had we gone into default, do you know what else would have been problematic? People losing their jobs, people losing their homes. Okay? People not being able to go to school. Students having to give up their education. Had we gone into default on a nationwide level, it would have been an unmitigating disaster, and only one group of people brought you to the brink, and that's the GOP.
So not only and by the way, I don't want to hear that this was a bipartisan deal. Biden drove this thing from the very beginning. There were some big things that we did lose, but for the most part, based on what the Republicans were asking for, again, there was no red wave in terms. You know what I mean? They didn't slash and burn everything that they wanted to slash and burn. They didn't get.
Republicans are pissed off at Kevin McCarthy, and at least some of them are calling for him to be ousted from his speaker's position.
And by the way, unemployment is the lowest it's been in 60 years. It's been under 4% for over 10 months. So this has been going on for about 8 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to my point. All of that happened, but people are worried about Joe Biden bumping his head and Joe Biden's health. Okay, look, to all those Gen Zers out there, I'm going to tell you the same thing someone told me back in 92. Remember this moment. You're going to get old at some point. Joints are going to start hurting. You're going to start going, oi, what is that? It's going to happen. You're going to forget where you put your keys more often than not. All that sort of stuff. That's human. It's fine, but you can still get your work done. Joe Biden bumped his head. He tripped over a sandbag during a presentation. Okay, all of this stuff has happened to other presidents, and people make a big deal out of it. And by the way, people made a big deal of how young Obama was. All right. Now, there's a double-edged sword to this too. Joe Biden wiped the floor with McCarthy in terms of negotiating because he's experienced. He doesn't have any problem with his mental faculties. Now, by the way, we'll deal with Feinstein when it comes up. However, don't for one instant think that the Republicans care about anybody's well-being. They use that situation as a weapon. They voted against her temporary replacement when she had shingles. Okay, so I don't want to hear that either. And I'm tired of hearing about the attacks on John Fetterman and other people. Just remember this: you're going to get older. At some point, you're going to get sick. you might need to take a day off from work, and you might need um, some FMLA or something to that effect. The Republicans don't want any of that. They have no empathy. They also, I have realized, are worried about more about their legacy and keeping their job than Joe Biden. Joe Biden's at the end of his career. He doesn't give a rat's ass about his popularity. There's a great Vox article in the sources. He's doing all of this stuff and his numbers are tanking. Do you know why? Partly because he doesn't care.
He's
He's
doing his
doing
job.
his job.
He's
And
doing what he
that's
was elected to do.
what public servants are supposed to do.
Let me also
And
just interject for a minute here. You know,
yeah,
I can tell you, I'm 1 year away from 70. I'm nothing like I was at 50. Okay.
right,
I dare anybody to tell me I don't have my faculties. Can I do the things I used to do physically? Walk up and down stairs as fast as I could? Absolutely not. At the end of the week, my back is killing me after working 34 hours a week. I'm on a ladder during the day. People are worried I'm going to fall off
right.
because I'm older, but I'm doing it. Okay. I'd be a liar if I said it wasn't hard for me to carry gallons of paint up the stairs from the basement at work. It kills me, but I'm doing it. Okay. Things change, baby. You know,
Right.
when I was 30, I used to make fun of everybody.
Right.
Here I am right now. Okay. I'm telling you right now, no one said a word when Mitch McConnell fell at dinner and gave himself a concussion that kept him out of the Senate for a month. Nobody said a word about that. In fact, no one even wanted to talk about it on the right because then we'd have to acknowledge that everybody's human. No one talked
Right.
about any of that. Not one word. Okay. Guess what? Shit happens. And by the way, young people fall too. Every day. Every single day.
Remember that. Remember when you get sick. Remember and there's going to be a time when you're going to have to retire and you're going to potentially have to depend on Social Security and Medicare that, by the way, you've paid into for decades.
By the way,
So remember,
let me just leave with this thought here. They didn't win the debt argument on Social Security, Medicare. Okay, they did not.
right,
So let me tell you people right now what Kevin McCarthy is up to. He's setting up a commission to study how to cut Social Security. And remember this, Gen Zers, he's coming after your group. He's talking about raising the retirement age for you. It won't affect me. It'll affect you. They're talking about cutting going forward, how they can minimize. Their solution to all of this would be to make billionaires like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos pay their fair share. I don't think everybody's aware of this. The average citizen has to pay in up to $160,000. So do the billionaires. Why should a man making $5 million a year only have to pay Social Security taxes up to $160,000? You could solve all of this Social Security insecurity by making the rich pay their fair share. And by the way, Joe Biden has vowed he will veto any tax cut to billionaires. And I know the GOP is working on a new bill because I read it.
and as I will repeat it, and I'll repeat it and repeat it. The significant increase in the deficit happened because Donald Trump ballooned tax cuts to the billionaires. Okay, trillions of dollars to them.
And they're planning on doing it again. And guess what? In 2 years, when the debt ceiling comes up again, we're going to be paying off that tax cut if it gets overridden, if the veto is overridden.
But
keep all of this in mind. Use your head, okay?
Those tax cuts, and by the way, Bernie Sanders has been saying this for what, 40 years? These tax cuts dwarf any of the social programs that we're talking about, SNAP programs, Head Start programs, the federal aid, student loan debt relief, all of this, all of it. Okay. And don't forget, all of this stuff was increased because of a pandemic. It didn't just come out of the blue. A pandemic, by the way, that Donald Trump ignored for a long period of time.
Just so everyone understands, 300,000 people died that did not need to die under Donald Trump. Understand that. That was actually studied. And there is actually a group of people out there that believe that Jared Kushner and Donald Trump should be charged with reckless manslaughter for those deaths.
Right.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Not only them, Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott.
Yep, both of them.
Just to name a couple of them.
He had the highest, Ron DeSantis, the state of Florida, had the highest number of deaths for people 65 and older. He's in a state where retirees go to live, and he was callous about COVID in a state that makes its money off retirees.
And before anybody mentions Andrew Cuomo resigned. And what he did under reporting deaths pales in comparison to what DeSantis, Trump, and Abbott did, just to name a few.
DeSantis is running for president. He didn't resign. And Abbott is thinking about it. So understand this, folks. Okay? The Democrats get caught, they get held accountable. The Republicans get caught, they lie.
Yeah, and they run for a higher office.
And they run for higher offices. Okay, kids, we'll take to you soon.